Welcome in to CBS News 24/7. I'm Mugo Odigwe. Right off the top, we have our eyes inside the White House. Any moment now, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt will start the White House press briefing. Leavitt says she plans to tout the achievements of the Trump administration to honor 1 month since the president took office. CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman has a close eye on that briefing. Willie, thank you for joining us today. We understand the National Security Advisor will be in attendance alongside the Deputy Chief of Staff. So do we expect them to talk about the escalating tension between the United States and Ukraine?
Hey there, Mugo. Good to be with you. That's exactly right. I anticipate that this will be a lengthy part of the briefing. Now, the press secretary did kind of express what she hopes to pitch to reporters when this briefing starts, and that's perhaps a greatest hit list, so to speak, in terms of the priorities and what the White House sees as the successes for the first month as President Trump took over the White House, of course, 1 month ago today. But top of mind for not only us reporters here, but perhaps for viewers at home that are watching this situation unfold is this escalating tension between President Trump and President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The two have really just traded barbs in public statements going back and forth just a few days ago. The president seemingly saying that Zelenskyy was a dictator without elections and criticized him for taking some $350 billion from the United States. Now, it's unclear what the president is talking about there in terms of that $350 billion. Some $183 billion has been set aside or appropriated by Congress, much of it to support Ukraine and pushing back that Russian assault. And the president also criticized and seemingly tried to say that Zelenskyy started this war. Let's remember the facts of the situation is that President Putin, Russian forces invaded Ukraine. That also happened in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea as well. So the president is seemingly bringing up these things that are not necessarily factually accurate. But the president of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, responding as well. But also want to bring up a quick tweet that Zelenskyy posted when he had a meeting with Keith Kellogg. He said he had a productive meeting with Keith Kellogg, a good discussion. Of course, those discussions follow the meeting between the Americans and the Saudis. The Saudis mediated that meeting, I should say, between the Americans and the Russians in Saudi Arabia. So more to come on this. We anticipate that this certainly will come up during that press briefing. You go.
Yeah, Willie, we know Trump is also expected to speak at the Republican Governors Association tonight, and on the agenda is balancing the federal budget. So will we see DOGE come up during that speech?
Yeah, oftentimes the president does have prepared remarks for these types of events, but oftentimes he typically doesn't follow the script. I anticipate he will talk about some of the things that he views as successes, perhaps some of the things that he wants to do going into his second term. But DOGE, I anticipate, will be a huge topic of conversation. Perhaps some governors, Republicans even, may be concerned about the number of workers who are based in their state. Remember, these federal workers aren't just in Washington, D.C. and the DMV, as we call it, this region of the country. They are spread out all across this country, and many of them, some 30% of them, CBS has reported, are veterans as well. So some people who served their country being let go with these DOGE-led layoffs. Now, the White House will say that DOGE isn't necessarily in charge of anything, that Elon Musk isn't in charge of DOGE, but that they make recommendations to these government agencies for them to make cuts. But the president does have a lengthy list of things that he could potentially talk about. As I mentioned, some of the successes, but also some of the cuts in federal spending that I anticipate he oftentimes brings up and could potentially talk about later this evening.
Okay, Willie James Inman reporting for us from the White House. Thank you so much for your time today.